Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Performance Link for round 2 of the Performance Link GT3 Cup here at the wonderful Sebring International Speedway. So we have a night race for you tonight, 1 hour long format B. We're doing it slightly different tonight. We are not going to be showing qualifying. We held qualifying earlier on in the day, and the way that the grid's going to work for today's race and going forward is we're going to put it from the qualifying sessions where they finished overall and that, but we're also going to put them all into their classes. So straight away they'll be racing from the off with their competitors. So that's coming ahead very shortly. So I am Andy Thompson. I'm joined in the commentary box by Mr. Dave Whitehouse, and after what was an excellent first round at Watkins Glen, we're looking at, again tonight at a really big grid around Sebring. So it's going to be an interesting race ahead of us. But looking at the championship, only one round in currently, and we look at the pros. Harry Wills is currently topping out that at 24 points. Aaron Palin second on 23. Oscar Christensen the same with 23 points. Elliot Hellier, after having an excellent first race, had a bit of a disaster second 30-minute race, was still up there on 21 points. Matty Chambers in 5th, Arius Germantis in 6th, Kim Andre Borkland in 7th, Thomas Cope in 8th, Nikolai Thrain in 9th, and Jacob Behrens in 10th. Over into the Pro-Ams then. We have Max Wolf heading the field with 26 points along with Russ Fowler. So those two at the moment taking an early lead over Daniel Merchant in 3rd place with Tom Bingham in 4th, Jimmy Vark in 5th. So them three on 17 points. Then we go down to Daniel Lilivec in 5th and on 6th with 15 points. Patrick Thompson on 13th with Tom Stevens, Phil Regan and Michael Hoopler there in 10th. Over into the AM category we have... Here we go. We have Chris Rant heading out the field on 30 points at the moment. Madseya in 23 points in 2nd. Steve Pearce in 3rd on 22. Darren Doherty in 4th on 20. Simon Mokulev in 5th place. Gordon Haig, Joe Sal, Odvid Bredvik, Hindik Harrison and Victor Lind round out your top 10 in the AMS. Over to the rookie class now. We have Rich Jameson Smith holding the field at 27 points, closely followed by Jacob Semensky on 26th. Matthew Gerard, 25th. Paul Joseph Clist on 22. Alexander Rhodes, Morton Hansen, Lydia Ross there in 7th. Dan Fendick. Lydia moving down into the rookie class in this round and going forward. So there's the points overall, and you know, it's only one round into a 12-round season. The drivers do get 2 drop scores to have a go at on the worst 2 rounds in the 12 rounds. But it's going to be an interesting race tonight. And in the qualifying earlier, I think the person really to look out for in tonight's race is Matthew Hoopler in the leading out on the Pro-Am field. He was mixing it with the pros in the qualifying session, so he's certainly going to be one to look out for. But without further ado, we'll welcome Dave into the box. Hello, Dave.
Hello, Andy. I'm looking forward to a great event after the opening round to this new series we have going. And a couple of new names that we've seen pop into the series for this second round, so it'd be interesting to see how they get on as well.
Yeah, well, certainly will, though. I mean, the field's still going to be another large field. I'm expecting around about 50 plus cars again here tonight. Like we said, there's 4 different classes, and each of the class are fighting over trophies for the top 3 as well as some really decent prizes. But there's also prizes for the most consistent driver, the least amount of incidents, the drivers that tips up the most in the races. So, you know, there's lots of things on offer across this championship overall, and the points make it really interesting as well, as we saw there after round 1. You're not really going to get somebody streaking away with the championship with the point setups that they are. There's very limited points between 1st and 2nd, and then from 2nd down, literally not a lot of point difference. But we'll have a ride on board with Steve Pearce, who's going to be topping out the Anfield as we look around this Sebring. Obviously, turn 1 very treacherous. You really got to hold that power, hugging that inside corner. We really want to be going out quite wide. This is probably the technical part of the track that we might see quite a few incidents. Certainly on the opening lap, really coming down into a short left, right, then followed by this long left. You really got to hold that urge to get onto the throttle, because it's quite easily to kick your car out wide as we come down here into the hairpin, another part where cars can get it wrong. Maybe into the second half of the race they might overshoot this corner, but expect to see some incidents coming down into the hairpin before we get the long straight, we wouldn't call it a straight, but it's a flat out here as they come up to Cunningham turn number 10. There's a tricky corner here. This is where you can gain a lot of time on the track. You need to clip the corner on the inside, let the car run wide on the exit and get on the power before coming down this little section here, coming down into Tower. Another corner that we might see a few people getting it slightly wrong. If we get too much of that dirt on the outside of the track, we might see some cars flying around. We certainly might see some headlights. May not be able to see the cars as it is a night race. Before we get this fast bar coming up to Le Mans, before we get the long back straight, the Oman straight coming down here, quite a technical bit, really using all the track to open up this corner to try and maximize the speed down the Oman straight before we head into Sunset Bend. You know, one of the classic corners here at Sebring. It's an all or nothing corner, so if you certainly get it wrong here, you know, it could be a race ender as we watch Steve just getting around the corner here, managing to keep that really, just try and clip that inside here and then get the power on as Steve goes into the pits there. But that was a great illustration, Steve. Thank you very much for that, for a lap around Sebring. It's going to be interesting, Dave, and where do you think the hotbed of action is going to be?
Yeah, it's certainly going to be along this far end of a circuit near the start finish line, where you've got that sort of runway concrete surface you have to deal with. So it's certainly a lot more of a challenge for the drivers with the different surfaces you have to deal with. And yeah, I think that most of the overtaking will come from this end of the circuit.
It certainly will. Coming down into Sunset, you really don't want to be too wide going into that corner. You want to get that move done before that, because we've seen plenty of incidents with cars going too wide into Sunset Bend. Same with coming around at turn number 1. That could be quite tricky. Certainly in this session here, they're using the same setup that they were in Watkins Glen. So we should expect them to coming in for a pit stop round about mid-race, around about 30 to 35 minutes. We should start seeing the majority of the field coming in. And where the exit of the track is, as everyone knows if you've driven this course, is literally right on the outside of turn number 1. So let's hope tonight we don't see any incidents as cars coming out of the pit and a car coming careering around turn number 1, because that can be quite a treacherous event if that does take place. But certainly on that first lap, coming down into turn number 3 and 4, that is going to be I'm going to be holding my breath, certainly from the start of the race, having this amount of cars on track coming down into that corner. It narrows up quite a lot coming down there, so we'll probably see a few cars trying to make optimistic dives up onto the inside, but all yet to see. So we've only got about 15 seconds here before we actually do go into our grid race. So any sort of last words from you, Dave, before we go into the grid?
Well, it's going to be interesting to see how the drivers take on this challenge of an hour-long race, because obviously the tyre wear does come into effect. We're looking at the names near the top, a lot of pros up the top of this circuit, as we said before, very challenging. So I would personally expect a normal split for the race, in terms of, obviously we start with that qualifying, but I think the pace will be split in the same way throughout the classes. So you'll have the pros as the quickest, and you won't have so many sort of interlopers into different classes.
Yeah, it should be a really excellent start of this race, like we said, putting them all into their class holdings out on track. So let's have a quick look at the grid, if we can get that up, Lewis. We'll We'll wait to see as soon as Lewis can get the grid up. We'll take you through the grid, but we can see all the cars there lining up. And without further ado, here it is. So on pole position is Thomas Cope. In second is Matty Chambers. In third, Arias Germantus. Fourth, Nikolai Frayne. Fifth, Kim Andre Portland. In sixth, we have Scott Moak. Seventh is Jacob Behrens in the Ford. In eighth, we got Dean Powell. In ninth, we got Matt Loveridge. In 10th, we got Oscar Christiansen. In 11th, we got Aaron Powell. And in 12th, we got Elliot Hellier.
In 13th is Michael Hooper. 14th, James Logston. Then 15th, Alex Garrett with Patrick Thompson. Alongside Russ Fowler and Bob Humphrey make up 17th and 18th, while the 10th row of the grid is Casper Tunstad and Tom Bingham. Jimmy Vark and Frederick Goldberg are followed up by Kev Copeland and Phil Reagan in 24th.
In 25th, we got Dali Lilivek. In 26th, we got Hakon Johnson. In 27th, we got Daniel Merchant. In 28th, we have Tom Stevens. Then we move over to the Anfield, and leading that is Steve Pierce. In 30th place is David Gill. Sander Island in 31st with Mad Sire alongside him. Simeon Moldakev in 33rd with Darren Doherty in 34th. Nicholas Gronstone in 35th with Joe Saul alongside him in 36th.
The grid keeps on going with Victor Lind in 37th alongside Carl Gray for XZ Racing. Gordon Howell shares row 20 with Daniel Slater. Heinrich Howardson and Orvid Breving are just outside the top 40, ahead of newcomer Nigel Stock, who's racing for Crest Autosport with Ape, and the privateer Matthew Gerard. Andy Booth and Lydia Ross are 45th and 46th, ahead of Alex Rhodes in 47th, and the winner of the amateur category at round 1, Rich Jameson Smith in 48th.
In 49th, we got Morton Hansen. To round out the grid of 50 drivers, we have Paul Joseph Cliss there heading out the field at the back. So it does show Lydia Rose there as an AM driver. She has obviously changed to a rookie now. So that's why she is in the mix of the rookie class. So it's going to be an interesting race when we do get going here, as we see the drivers just coming on to the second half of the track here. And it's all going to be go on the green light. As you see there, the drivers doing that natural split up of the classes, which will make it a lot easier and should get all the cars through nice and cleanly in the first lap here, with the pros being at the front, followed by the pro-ams. Then we have the AMs just further back from that, and the rookies heading out the field. I mean, we didn't really see it a lot in the last race, Dave, but it's going to be interesting because it's an hour-long race here. We should see a lot more overtaking of the pros coming through the back end of the field, so that may pay a bit of a challenge to the drivers tonight.
Yes, it will do, and traffic will be a problem, and the main thing, it's night time. You're not going to, it's going to be really hard to distinguish whether it's an amateur or a pro driver or anything like that. So what you're going to have to rely on is your relative to know if you're battling that person in front for position, whether they're going to be more predictable, whether you think they might be pitting soon, because obviously if you're pro and you've pitted and it's an amateur in front of you, there's a good chance they're going to be pitting soon if they need to pit. So it'd be interesting to see how this format works out. As you can see, the grids are lined up along the back straight in the separate classes, which is exactly, you know, you can't say the series hasn't listened to its drivers. The drivers wanted this, so this is how the grids are lining up, and they're coming round for the start.
Yeah, definitely will. It will make interesting racing straight from the off. There's no getting over for other classes. It's down to Thomas Cope, who we're going on the green lights here, and is away. So all the pros literally 4 or 5 wide. We can see here coming down the start-finish straight. Going to have to get themselves sorted out here for round 2. Looks like Thomas Cope has managed to keep hold of that first place. Matt Chambers there in second place, and Baller just going slightly wide getting there, but all managing to get through. Looking further back in the background there, all the Pro-Am drivers managed to get through. There's one driver going extremely wide there through turn number 1, but doesn't lose a lot of place. I think that was Tom Bingham. As you saw there, he has changed his car to the McLaren, so only reason I knew that because I saw the flames licking out the back. But looking further back at the AMs and the rookie class, all pretty much quite close together, and there's a BMW there stranded off the road
Lilivik
on the left-hand side. It's Lilivik getting it slightly wrong there, so he will have to fight his way back through the field to try and get on his class. But as we can see at the front of the field, Thomas Cope securing that pole position at the moment, but does have Chambers behind him there in second place, giving him a little bit of pressure, a little bit of a gap there to Portland in third, who managed to jump 2 places off the grid. So a great start for him. Elliot Hellier, who's currently in 6th place, is up 6 places from where he started. Obviously, he would probably have been up the front end of the field, but didn't attend the qualifying session, so ended up at the back of his respective pro grid. So making light work at the moment to try and get his way up. We did see how quick he was in the last round, Dave, but relatively nice opening clean lap, and we haven't really had any major incidences, which is good.
No, we have kept it nice and clean, as we can see the pros heading down towards the end. As we got a few, as we just say that, we had a couple of cars off in the background. I'm not sure who they were, but they have recovered. We can see cars defending. There's a car very slow on the inside there, so I'm not sure what that's all about. But we do have Michael Hooper. Oh, we've got a car around just in front. That must have been Powell. That is Aaron Powell spinning out, who had a very strong first round. He's just spun out at the final corner, so just a little bit different tarmac's giving you that little different amount of grip in these dark conditions, and it's hard to see as well. And we all know the final corner here at Sebring is, well, as bumpy as a bouncy castle with kids on.
It definitely is. I'm just looking at the timing tower, and the pro field has just been obliterated. Dean Powell is down into the mid-pack of the Pro-Ams. Matt Loveridge is down to 23rd at the tail end of the Pro-Ams. Behrens is pretty much down and out. He's in the pit stop. So let's have a look at what happened to Jacob Behrens. Did he just hit the grass there? No, coming down into the corner. Did he get that? Let's have a look. Oh no, he just literally lost his braking point there coming into Cunningham. I think that was taking the exit road going around, but lost a massive, no, in fact that was the hairpin, I believe. So lost an absolute truckload of places there, and he is currently in the pit lane as well. Looking at the rest of the pro field, we've got Nikolai Frayne is down to 41st position, 37 places down, 44th Oscar as well. So we look at the Powell here, Dean Powell.
Oh, it's not Dean and Aaron, is it?
I think that is, but that's a treachery of going too wide, going around Sunset Bend. You really do not want to be doing that. But the rest of the field seems to be playing ball. But we have got some Pro-Am drivers as well. Daniel Lilivek, Kevin Copeland, and Jimmy Varg down to the back end of the field as we lost Arthur Christensen here coming into. Oh, there's another incident near enough a carbon copy there of the last incident. We see, oh, there's a Evo SR car.
That was Dean Powell, Aaron Powell, and Christensen all together. And yeah, actually the two Powells were in 2 separate incidents almost, but in exactly the same place. And it was a Formula Drift for a moment, as we are just looking at the replay at the moment. But Johan Mantis in 3rd place has now set the fastest lap of the race. First driver into the 1:58 here tonight. Only lap 2, but absolutely on the pace straight away. Oh, and Hendrik Hausen just staying out wide to keep away from everything that's going on. Maybe damaged. Is he trying to head to, yes, he's trying to get across the pit lane, does it nice and safely, and that's well done by Henrik. And we have another replay of Bob Humphrey. The hour's going to be up in a minute. Bob Humphrey coming into the same corner, turns in and just loses the back end on the cold tyres, and around he goes. And let's see, he just rejoins in the correct. Oh, it's a little dodgy with that Mercedes, but he manages for no damage for everybody else.
Yeah, I think I probably commentated cast that because it was going so well up until that Sunset Bend, and that is just decimated a lot of the back end of the field. We got Pro-Ams, we got pros right at the back that are now going to have to fight their way through the field. But at the front, we still have Thomas Cope leading out the field. Matty Chambers in 2nd place. Losing a little bit of ground, 0.8 of a second, but we did see Thomas do this out at Watkin Glen last week, get out to a really cracking start, but then made some little mistakes as he went through the round. So let's hope he doesn't have the same sort of outcome here today, but doing a great job. Hellier there, 1.9 up to 4th place overall, but we're looking at Casper Tungsten coming around Le Mans here, going on to the Oman Straight. Currently 4th in class, 11th overall, and trying to chase down, and it's probably not a bad person to be behind a pro driver at the moment to try and get that gap between Thompson in 9th place at the moment. Has a little bit of a gap over Dean Powell, so Casper will do well to just keep up onto the rear end of Dean Powell's car to hopefully drag him up to the pro race that's ensuing. But that was an entertaining opening lap there. I mean, we had such a clean as we see a little bit at the back is Olympus Esport car there. That might be Andy Booth at the back there in the Porsche, just nearly getting caught up onto the tyre wall coming out of the sunset bend. But we looking at, that was an unusual line there from who is that in the Porsche on the inside?
He's going very slowly.
He is, yeah. Not sure who that
looks
is.
like it might be.
Not sure who it is.
He's laying everybody through at the moment. I think he's about 5 places back from where we're looking at the moment. But maybe he's a lapped runner because the timing screen doesn't seem to be dropping anybody. So I wonder if it's a lapped runner getting out the way.
Yeah, so after that entertaining first lap and all them incidents down at the sunset bend, we'll just take a quick recap of where we're currently heading out in the classes. I wonder if you can put it over to the class overlay there, Lewis, so we can have a look. But leading out the pros at the moment, we have Thomas Cope in first, Matt Chambers in second. In third, we've got Arias Germantis and Elliot Hellier in 4th place, with Kim Andre Borkland in the top 5th. Michael Hoopla there in 1st place in the Pro-Am was exceptionally quick in the practice and qualifying, heading out the Pro-Am field. Loshen there in 2nd, Patrick Thompson in 3rd place at the moment, Tungsten in 4th, and Russ Fowler in 5th. Over to the AMs, we've got Pierce in 1st place, was exceptionally quick again, so I'd expect him to head out the field. Madsire in 2nd, David Gill in 3rd, Joe Sal in 4th, Ron Holm in 5th, Haig in 6th, Moldekeva in 7th, and Doherty in 8th. In the AM category, we got Rhodes heading out the field over Gerard in 2nd place, Jameson Smith in 3rd, Matt Hansen in 4th place, Paul Joseph Clist in 5th, and Andy Booth in 6th place at the moment. So there's a rundown of all the classes and where all the cars sit at the moment.
Yeah, it's very close at the moment as we just see a Porsche, I think, recovering there. I think the driver who we saw going quite slowly was Frederick Goldberg, because he seems to be around the area of the car which we were following at the time. But we're just having a look here now. Nicholas Gronstrom, just looking up the inside, touches the other car. Oh no, he gets touched round and both cars end up into the wall, so that is not ideal. It's Alex Scarrett who's also in the pits now for repairs, so not ideal. But it's not often in a race where we say it was not a bad start, but I heard our producer Lewis say to us, we can go back live now, and it was 5 minutes into the race because there's so much going on that we could get replays in. So impressive by Lewis to find all of those replays. But now we have a look at Arish Yarmantis, who is closing in on Chambers now for this 2nd place. Or has he got him? It looks, is this? Oh no, sorry, this is Hellier. Hellier has caught him up massively. Hellier was about a 2nd back, I think, at one point, and is now only 2 tenths behind. And Hellier, we know, was very quick in the first round, taking victory in the first race of the weekend and of the 2 races we had. So it's a driver we've got to watch out for. And Thomas Cope is currently about 3 seconds clear of Hellier, who's now looking already into turn 1 to get Yarmantis.
Definitely is. He's an extremely quick driver, starting at the back of this class due to not attending qualifying, but steadily making his way up, has managed to get that 3rd place overall, 2 seconds ahead of him to Matty Chambers, who's still managing to keep that 0.8 of a second to Thomas Cope in 1st place overall. So Elliot Hillier really on a charge in the pro field at the moment, but we see there Michael Hooper in 6th place at the moment, our top Pro-Am driver, already taken over Kim Andre Borkland for that 7th place. So does have a car between him and the rest of his class. So showing his speed here at Sebring. I mean, we've said it before, you know, a lot of the drivers, Dave, can be quick at the track, and we have another replay here. David Gill. So this is coming around turn number 1, coming up to the treacherous turn number 3. Does he put it a little bit too much power? Yes, he does, and just spins the car wide and just needs to get off that.
Well
race.
done, just letting that roll back. Now most drivers would slam on the brakes, but David Gill really quite experienced.
Oh, as you say that, here's a wall.
Okay, that is Commentator's Curse number 2 for the season. Yeah, that is not ideal for David Gill, but he did roll it out the way of everybody else at the time and rejoin safely. As we now look at Tom Bingham, you can see him concentrating away in the corner. Tom Bingham, of course, one of the admins for the championship racing for Performance Link Esports. You'll see the little tongue come out when he's concentrating. And the 185 McLaren is really pushing on here. He's up into 15th overall, so a good start by Tom. He's up 5 places from his grid position.
Yeah, he's in 8th overall in class. Is Tom. Did change from the Porsche over to the McLaren. People may think that's a strange choice, but yep. Tom is used to the McLaren, obviously riding it in a previous season, so just thought he would go. And who doesn't love the McLaren in Sebring at night with them flames licking out the back? I'm pretty sure he did it just to get some camera time anyway, but doing quite well at the moment, up into 8th in the Pro-Am. But the Pro-Am field is really competitive. A lot of the guys are super close together, so he's going to have a hard time trying to get up into the front 3 of this class, but I wouldn't put it past him. But we see here a nice little dive down the inside, 2 wide coming out. Oh, who's that on the inside? P17th. That is Phil Regan, I think. Yes, it is Phil Regan there, just getting it slightly out of shape. As Matt Loveridge is just trying to recover from an earlier incident that he had. Currently running in 8th in class is Loveridge there, but has got to make his way through all this Pro-Am field. So even though we put them in their classes to begin with, they've sort of mixed them up there, and certainly at the back end of the field is a big mixture of rookies, pros and Pro-Am. So it looks like the only class that's maybe got away on the most side of it is the AM class, where we still have a lot of drivers, 9 drivers still quite close together at the moment.
Yeah, there's another recovery drive a bit further down. This is Oscar Christensen, who's had to make a pit stop. But he's also not far up from him, Nikolai Frayne, who we saw very competitive in the opening round. He's quite far down the grid as well. You can see by the left-hand side of the screen, the tower of the drivers sort of a little mixed up in colour down this back end of the field. I can confirm to you that we've had pit visits by 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11 drivers have had to head to pit lane early on in this race. So not too bad when you've got a 50 car field, but it's something you really don't want to have to do even in an hour-long race. As we now ride on board with the rookie leader Alex Rhodes, who's leading Matthew Gerard, the privateer driver. Remember, he hasn't got anybody to work with in terms of a teammate, but he is now having a look for Pete. He's fighting Alex Rhodes for the lead of the rookie category. Sorry, I was getting confused which car's which in the dark.
Yeah, it definitely is. So fighting side by side, managing to get the move done into sunset. But here comes Alex again, coming down the start finish. He will have the outside line, so we'll have to yield as he does to Matthew in that New Zealand livery coloured Mercedes. There is great.
Yeah. I was about to say, I think I got confused whether he's Australian or New Zealand. I think he's confirmed it right now, because he's definitely Australian.
New Zealand.
Yeah, definitely New Zealand with them colours. And I was just about to say, when the light catches it, we'll see it much better in the lighter events, but a great livery on the front, as most of the cars are in this series. You know, everyone's put a lot of effort into these liveries to show off their cars. Here's Daniel Slater for Nordic Racing, the 204 BMW, down in 31st at the moment in time. Just a bit of a recovery drive again for Daniel, and all these drivers around this area are the drivers who are either doing a bit of a recovery drive or are sort of top to bottom of the AMS, top of the rookies area. So it's quite interesting to see how the drivers will get on. You can see Jimmy Vark is down there, Liverick, and here is Matt Scher, who has Nikolai Frayne right behind him, who's a pro category driver trying to get back through to try and gain some positions. His next target really is Matt Loveridge up in 17th, so he's got a lot of work to do to gain any more positions.
Yeah, the good thing about this series is the drivers always, we see a little bit of a contact there from, I think that was Nikolai Thrain behind him, maybe give him a little tap around a Sunset Bend, but still not causing too much damage to Madsire, so that was a lucky escape really there. But the drivers do have a fast repair to use, and as you said, 11 drivers already using their fast repair early out in this race overall. But Nikolai Frayne at the moment will be struggling a little bit because he is in the throes of that field at the moment, so although he is probably a quicker driver, he's going to be struggling to make a move past. We look further back to Alexander Rhodes in 31st position, currently heading out, does have an AM now in between himself and Jamieson Smith, and looks like Gerard must have had an incident because he has now dropped back to 34th position and third in class overall in that rookie class, so must have made a slight little mistake, did Matthew Gerard there in 34th, to give up the lead in that rookie category. I'm not used to saying it. Don't have many leagues with rookies in, but we certainly do in this one. But that's a hotly contested class at the moment, is that rookie class.
Yeah, and here comes David Gill trying to get back through. The experience of Gill will be pushing the rookies to their limits as he drives, almost running into the back of Jamieson Smith there, just showing the difference in terms of how they may brake or how their car might handle. And David Gill here just trying to make his way through to chase down actually this guy, Victor Lind, who is the next in his class for Fendi Racing, the 202, up in 32nd overall at this moment in time. But at the front, Thomas Cope is still leading by 1.2 seconds, and then another 1.2 back is Elliot Hellier. So the gaps have sort of stayed the same for these leaders since we last saw them, and they've just slowly pulled away from Yomantis, Hooper and Logston, just sort of dropping back slightly.
Yeah, obviously Hooper and Logston are the pro-ams, so they're not really fighting over these positions overall. So the points, if anybody's wondering, is not done by overall finishing positions here, it's done by finishing class positions. So still all to play for. As you can see there, the pro field decimated. So fourth at the moment is Arias Jomantas, in fifth in class, but seventh out on track is Kim Andre Borkland in seventh. Then you got Scott Mokes in ninth, but fifth overall in class. So there's still some very valuable points on offer for the drivers to contend. So they just need to do as good as they can within their class to be able to score valuable points. And it's going to be interesting. Can we get the track map up there, Lewis, just to see how far away these front runners are to join in the back of some of the field? We can see them there going down the Oman straight now. They got the car 44, one of the AM drives in front. A couple of people in the pits at the moment, so still a little bit of time for these front runners to try and bridge the gap to each other. But certainly when they get onto the back of the 42nd car, the pro driver there, who is Jacob Behrens, is going to get a little bit more interesting, and the traffic is going to certainly get a lot more heavier.
Yeah, well, if they catch the traffic, it will be a bit later into the race. It's looking about half a lap until they catch them at this moment in time. Like you say, there's two little packs there, and then you've got that large train that are heading down towards the last corner at the moment. They shouldn't catch them at this moment in time with 20 minutes gone of this hour-long race, but you just don't know what might happen as Bob Humphrey has fallen down the order. something has happened to Humphrey, possibly on the final corner. Yes, it is. It's heading down into the final corner. Does he just lose the back end again? Just on the brakes, yeah, lost the back end. Almost a repeat of what he did. Oh, just managed to everybody to avoid him. Reverses up and parks it exactly where he spun out to last time and rejoins safely. So, that is commentator curse number 3.
On for the hat trick, mate. On for the hat trick.
Like my walkers used to say, I don't say things wrong. I make prophecies that go wrong.
Definitely is, but that was a second exact location that Bob Humphries has done that same mistake around Sunset Bend. Obviously giving it a little bit too much throttle, losing that back end and just kicking out. These drivers are all using a modified iRacing sprint setup. The only difference is we've added 11 more litres to give them the option on the 30-minute races that they can do it without having a pit stop, and for this race, so they just have to do the one pit stop. But it is that standard iRacing sprint setups that each of these drivers are using, so there's no advantage of the setup wizards for the teams. It's purely all down to how the driver can master the setup around this track. But going extremely well at the moment for the likes of Thomas Cope, Matthew Hooper and Stephen Pierce, and Gerard there, who's managed to get himself back to the front there of the rookie class. Them 4 drivers are the ones that I were expected to see leading their class from the results in qualifying and obviously the race times that they were doing in the practice setup. So at the moment, all going to plan for each one of our leaders in the class, but we're still only 22 minutes into an hour-long race. So it's still all to play for. And then we have the treacherous pit stops. Who's going to take that little bit too much fuel? Who's not going to take enough fuel? So adds that little bit of extra spice into the race. But looking at our YouTube chat, so a big hello to everybody who's watching us on YouTube. So a lot of support at the moment for Thompson. We've got Celia Tilstrup giving him a bit of support. 2ML, 2-minute laughs, giving a lot of support to Thompson on the YouTube channel, as well as Fred Gill, I think. Let's go Thompson. So a lot of support there for that driver overall. We've got Alex Bingham, let's go, let's have a good evening's racing, everyone. So if anybody in our YouTube chat, just put a comment in the comment section, and we'll try to get anything that you might have to say that's interesting. We'll try and get it out on the broadcast. But also, if you do like this, do like the stream, then give us that thumbs up, and think about subscribing if you haven't already. But as we join back here with Matt Loveridge, still trying to fight his way through this pro-am field to try and get onto the back of Aaron Powell there in 10th place at the moment. So struggling a little bit, and obviously time is probably not going to be on his side there as we watch one of the Olympus Esports Porsche drivers just getting out of the way of this battle as it goes side by side here.
Yeah, there's a little bit of traffic out there for people just to negotiate in terms of the cars around Loveridge, just trying to fight his way through right now. But it'll be not the easiest job to get through. Even though he's a pro driver, it doesn't quite work as letting you through. But 10 seconds ahead of this, I've just noticed, is Aaron Powell. Now, Aaron Powell, we sort of have in that huge slide at the start of the race in the final corner, and he's already back up into 10th overall, which makes him 7th in class right now. So a good recovery driver as he now goes up the inside of another driver. That looks like that might not be for position though, because that driver was very wide out. No, Aaron's got another 4 seconds to close down on Scott Mopes.
Yeah, it definitely is, and you can see the 3 pro-am drivers of Hoopla, Logson and Thompson, they're fighting out. So Hoopla and Logson quite close together, just about a second gap between them 2 drivers. Then there's a little bit of a gap, around about 5 seconds back to Thompson in 7th overall. He's still on the podium spots for that position, but we're currently on board with Russ Fowler into what is very much the peloton, as we would say, of the pro-am field, and he has his teammate in front of him, Tom Bingham, that flames licking at the back of that McLaren there. But you've got Fowler, Bingham, Johnson, who we did have a driver's interview with him in the podcast we do on a Tuesday or Wednesday. It was Wednesday last week, so if you haven't had a look at that, head over. Oh, as we see Russ Fowler getting it slightly wrong there into the hairpin, taking it a little bit deep and giving a little bit of a kiss to his teammate. Luckily, no damage caused overall, but Russ Fowler lose another pace to our amateur leader at the moment, Pierce, there in 17th place.
Yeah, you do not want to take your team leader out or your team driver, especially when he's the admin of the championship. Yeah, that's not a good look. So well done by Russ to just avoid Tom there and only lose a couple of positions. But yeah, Hakon came into our podcast, did a great job showing us his sim rig and his experience and the many prototype cars behind. But here we are with Nigel Stock, the new driver to the series, only recently joined in, a driver I've raced against numerous times in other championships, and the Crest Autosport with Apex Transit driver is doing okay on his debut. He's 24th overall, only 47 seconds off the pace at this stage, and we do have drivers starting to make pit stops. Russ Fowler has been in, and I also believe we've had who fell down earlier on? Alex Stewart.
Yeah, I think quite a few of the drivers, the ones we're seeing, I think Russ Fowler is our first pit stop, official pit stop.
Yeah.
Like we say, a lot of drivers below him have had the earlier incidents, certainly from all the incidents around lap number 1 around Sunset Bend. Luckily, they didn't have to go very far to get themselves into the pit, so still able to get onto the tail end of the field and not get lapped at the moment. I don't think anyone has actually been lapped at this moment in time, so still all on the lead lap. So the top at the moment, around about 27 drivers still all owe us a pit stop. Then we got Oscar Christiansen, who I believe that is a stop for repairs down in 28th position, and then we have all the other drivers below that have done a pit stop but still owe us the pit stop for the fueling, because they do not have enough fuel to get around this hour-long race. So I suppose if you're going to have an incident, Dave, you want to have it now, so you can get in, get refueled and get repaired.
Yeah, that's true. I think we may have Bob Humphrey having towed to the pits possibly. He had already made one pit stop a little bit earlier than Russ Fowler, but and runs into the back of the I couldn't read it even like the 202, that is. So that's Victor Lind, who he's almost assaulted in turn 1, to be fair. I don't think the gap was there, and it's just as he's got there, he's just carried too much speed and just caught the back end of Lind, and luckily Lind's carried on, so it doesn't look like too much damage there. But we also have Morten Hansen in the pits right now, so drivers are starting to think, shall I try and get out of these queues? Have I got a bit more space out on track that I can use my pace to move up the field? But for the leaders, there's not much point in that at the moment. But Elliot Hellier has the pace. He is now only half a second behind Matty Chambers for second place.
Yeah, definitely closing in on the front too is Elliot. Thomas Cope has managed to sort of break Matty Chambers there in second place, 2.2 seconds ahead at the moment, but the race is certainly on for third in class and third overall in this race. Elliot has closed that gap down now to Matty Chambers. I keep calling him in Chambers, I don't know why, but obviously it is Matty Chambers there in second place, so he's going to be coming under a lot of pressure here. Obviously it does have the effect, Elliot, of the slipstream coming down the long Oman straight here, so is he able to make a move? No, Matty goes super defensive on the inside and not let him through. I think he just let him through there. Yes, he did. So Elliot and these two are teammates, so obviously just giving the positions up for Elliot to try and chase down Thomas Cope there in first place. And this is a carbon copy now of the first race. around Watkins Glen, but Thomas did have a larger gap, around about 4 seconds on that first 30-minute race around Watkins Glen. It's only 2 seconds the lead he does have here, so maybe feeling a little bit of pressure is Thomas now in first place, seeing that Elliott is closing in behind in second place overall. But certainly going to be interesting when we get into the round of pit stop, who is going to take that little bit less fuel to either eke into that gap or extend that gap. But then you got on the flip side, are you going to run out of fuel? Matty there has got a large gap, around about 8 seconds to Arias Yamantas in fourth place at the moment. So them top three are really out on their own. But as we can see here, Arias Yamantas getting a lot of pressure at the moment from Matthew Hooper there in fifth place. Got James Longston in sixth. Those two are fighting out the 4th position on track at the moment. So Arias, and I think what Matthew wants to try to do is try to get in front of Arias to obviously bridge and probably give him a little bit of breathing space, because James has been on the back of that Porsche for pretty much the entirety of this race. So a real grandstand finish looking at prospect for this Pro-Am field as well. So all to play for, but we've still got the treacherous round of pit stops to go.
Yeah, Elliott taking him out of second place. He's actually closed 4 attempts on this lap to Thomas Cope. So, like you say, complete mirror image of the opening round we had, because Elliott came strong in the last sort of 10 minutes of the half-an-hour races, and this time it's just gone over half an hour and the gap is coming down. But one thing we're not seeing from the opening round is the leaders of each class throwing the lead away, and then somebody else throwing it away, then somebody else throwing it away, because that's what we saw. I think it was in Pro-Am. The Pro-Am leader, I think about 5-6 drivers actually led during that hour of racing, and this time Cope, Hooper, Pearce have all led the way. It's only Rookie that swapped hands a couple of times, as we see Loveridge now up the inside of Tunstall for 12th overall, and Loveridge just came out a little bit closer as Johanna Matters is in the pits on the halfway mark. So it looks like he is going to just split the races half and half. Hakon Julesson is also in the pits. And also our leader in AM, Steve Pearce, is heading into pits for reckless abandon. 266 for BMW, pulling in and just splitting race half and half. Sometimes it makes sense for drivers if they're not already in a rhythm, as we can see Mad Surge having a bit of an issue getting off the corner, or getting around the car in front, because I think it was the car in front of him that had the issue of Jacob Berens. That Ford is not handling well for him tonight.
No, it's definitely not. We're certainly getting into the realms of the pit stop. We'd expect to see quite a few of the drivers coming in the next couple of laps. Certainly the leader side of it as well. But as you can see, that time between first and second is coming down all the time. 1.1 second Elliott at the moment behind Thomas. So it's certainly going to be interesting. But we're on board at the moment with Mad Sire in 35th position. Out on track, currently 11th in the AM field, and just trying to get some more positions gained for him. He's just managing to get 2-3 positions there, so overtaking Carl Gray, Nigel Stock and Daniel Slater have all visited the pits. But as we see at the top of our timing tower, all the front 3 drivers are now in the pits.
Yeah, they all headed in together and will probably all leave together in a similar order. The next two, Hooper and Logston, all in. So this is possibly the longest you could go on a tank unless you've really saved fuel. But it's also most dangerous to come into pits because it's so hard to spot your pit box. Oh, excuse me. It's so hard to spot your pit box because you're trying to look through all the cars possible to see where your man is. And because they haven't had the session beforehand, you may not know. It may have changed between practice and race where your pit box is. So it's really hard to tell. As Thomas Cope comes out in front of Chambers and Hellier, it's Chambers just getting out in front of Hellier, which is interesting. But the gap is down between the 3 of them to 1.4 seconds. So it's been a great pit stop for the 2 behind, an okay pit stop for Thomas Cope. But he is now going to have 25 minutes of pure pressure around this Sebring circuit.
Yeah, the two Evo SR drivers there in second and third, closing that gap to Thomas Cope ahead of him. So it's going to be an interesting time now. You've got two teammates that are pretty much going to be ganging up on Thomas Cope. What they really want is both be able to get past Thomas, but Thomas is not going to be the easiest of competitors to try and make that passing move. Will make it extremely hard for these two drivers, but Matty Chambers doing an excellent job there, leapfrogging Elliott into the pit stop. So took that little bit less fuel. I mean, the pit stop timings for the front three: 21.92 seconds for Thomas Cope, 20.55 for Matty Chambers, and then Elliott Halia was 22.5 seconds. So very much varying pit stop strategies from the three front runners there.
Yeah, and it really didn't work for Arias Giamantis. The 71 car down in 6th place now. Hooper and Logston, yes, not in his class, but they did leap him in the pit stop by a clear 4 seconds. So not the best of stops there, and it's now putting him under pressure of Patrick Thompson. And Bjorkund about 5 seconds back, so shouldn't be too much of a worry, as we now see Tom Bingham, who has taken his pit stop on lap 17 and is up in 17th overall and running well in the Pro-Am category. But another driver running well in Pro-Am category is Tom Stevens. Now, Tom had to start from the back of the Pro-Am grid due to an instant call in the last race, and he is now up 16 positions. So he showed that it's certainly not put a damper on his night, and he is now up into 4th in class.
Yeah, it definitely is a great recovery drive there from Tom. 4th in class overall. But we were talking about Arias Romantis. Yeah, he's lost out to Michael Hoopler and James Longston in front of him. But like we said on the points, you know, he is still in 4th overall. So he hasn't lost any points in his pro class due to that. The pro class sort of almost getting decimated in the first couple of laps between them all fighting amongst themselves. Has lost a little bit of ground to Borkland behind at the moment, but we're just driving on board with Patrick Thompson here in 7th place overall, that's trying to make a passing move here, coming down into the hairpin on Arias Romantis, and then that will give Borkland the target behind to try and chase down, and that will be a change in class positions if Borkland can actually get onto the back of Arias Romantis. But them top 3 Pro-Am drivers at the moment are driving exceptionally well. Matthew Hooper, James Longdon and Patrick Thompson in 4th, 5th and 6th overall, 1st, 2nd and 3rd in class. Thompson's having a little bit of a gap between Hoopler and Logston in front of him, but doing an exceptional job here tonight, and 3rd overall in class.
Yeah, he's just moved ahead of Giamantis, and that's probably a sensible move if he feels the pace is in the car to get away from other people. We're on board with Daniel Lillivit, who is ahead of LaRose. Oh, that looked like a slight touch, but Daniel just seemed to lose a bit of pace there, so I'm not quite sure what happened there, but that's made it was a touch with Thompson, I think, actually, because Giamantis is the next car right behind, and that the car in background seems to be all over the place. I don't know if there's an issue maybe with the steering there for that car.
I think it is, certainly is. Looked like it was Patrick that tagged him coming into the Le Mans section. You can see him in the background there going extremely low. We'd expect him to come into the pits, and that was Daniel Lillivec of the Darlin LF Racing there, and he will be using his fast repair. Luckily he does still have that available, but not ideal. He is one of the Pro-Am drivers, but certainly seems to be struggling out here on track. But looking further back in the rest of the classes then, so in the AM class we've still got Steve Pearce heading out the AM field in P18th overall, doing an exceptional job and really taking over from where he had in the practice. Does have 2 Pro-Am drivers behind him for a little bit of rear cover from the next in class, Joe Saul in P20th overall, who's just behind Phil Regan of XZ Racing, so there could be a bit of a last-ditch effort to try and get over Steve Pearce for the AM win. In third in class, we got Gordon Haig in P20, second overall, around about 6 seconds behind Steve Pearce at the moment, third in class. In fourth in class, we got Sander Island and then Simeon Moldekov in fifth overall in class. Down in the rookies then, we've got Matthew Gerard sort of asserting his dominance at the moment in 33rd position. His next AM driver is 19 seconds behind him, and that's Rich Jameson Smith in second place for team Bpop in 37th. In 38th and third in class, we have Paul Joseph Clist, 14 seconds behind. So that rookie class is sort of spread out, Dave, from where we saw him earlier on, where it was extremely close together.
Yeah, it's just spread out for now, but the AM drivers doing a good job of getting involved in the traffic, but not sort of causing too many issues. And it'll be interesting to see whether Gerard can be closed down, as Jameson Smith and Clist are up there as well. Here's Andy Booth, who's down in 41st overall at the moment in time, just trying to challenge the car in front of him there, running a bit wide. See, that's the problem with Sunset Corner. As soon as you get a little bit off the normal line, it's so bumpy that you just keep going wider and wider and wider because the tyres are not connected to the circuit anymore.
It certainly is. But a big shout out and a thank you to our title sponsors, Performance Links, who are suppliers of hundreds of different automotive tuning brands focused predominantly on the Japanese market. They offer a wide range of upgrades such as suspension, engine components, brakes, and much more. They also are proud sponsors of multiple MX-5 race cars and specialise in the MX-5 Mark III for both fast road and track use. So contact them at sales@performancelink.direct for more information. So big thanks to them at the moment. We'll be looking on board here is Lydia Ross down in 42nd overall at the moment. She is, I think, 5th in class, as she is in the rookie, so the timing tire is a little bit wrong there. She should be a white colour, so she's currently 5th in the rookie class. Obviously that striking pink bubbled effect Mercedes there, so she's doing an exceptional job at the moment. Our only female driver out on the grid, and doing very well for herself at the moment. But looking up at Kev Copeland in 43rd, one of our earlier casualties, the Pro-Am driver, just heading at the moment in 43rd position. Just behind Lydia is Kevin there. So got some gaps to try and make up. Just have one of his teammates in front of him, but I think that may be a back marker himself, because obviously the timing shower is showing Lydia in that pink Mercedes, and that certainly is not a pink Mercedes in front.
No, but here at the front we have a trio for the lead. Thomas Cope having to go defensive down into the hairpin, as Matty Chambers, who we thought didn't have the pace at first in this race. He let Elliot Hellier through just before the pit stops, but now is looking so racy behind Thomas Cope. And also it's two teammates behind, so Thomas has to really work hard. It's so defensive going down towards this corner. Oh, Matty has to get on the brakes. He's carrying so much more speed. Elliot now having a look at a switchback on his own teammate, not going to make that move. But these two teammates don't want to hold each other up, so it's whoever feels like they can make this work will need to be the car in front. And if you're going to swap, you need to swap it in the right way, because if you start swapping in braking areas or corners, you're just losing time to Tom. So Thomas Cope having to defend, and we could see a pure Gandalf moment here of "you shall not pass."
Certainly is. Thomas doing ultra defensive on that lap, still managing to keep that first position at the moment. But like you said, Matty has come out of that round of pit stops and is on fire at the moment, putting Thomas under all sorts of pressure. Don't think he'll be able to get the move done here going through Sunset, but could Get a really good exit here, goes extremely wide to cut back and try and get that inside line, but does have that slipstream effect, so this could be an opportunity here going down into the first corner for Matty Chambers to get the passing move on Thomas Cope. Thomas Cope going extremely defensive, just hugging that inside, going right onto the outside to get the corner, going a little bit wide there. Does he manage to keep the corner? Yes, he does. At the moment, holding on for dear life for that first position under Matty Chambers there in second place. Elliott just having a ringside seat, watching the battle ensuing, just ready to pick up on any mistakes that these front two drivers make.
Yeah, it's Elliott's having to sit back a little bit so he doesn't get checked up, and if he can get the run on him at some point. But Thomas Cope will now have 15 minutes of defence to do. He's a strong driver, he's experienced, he knows how to defend from front of these races. He has been there plenty of times before. And Matty Chambers also and Elliott as well with experience. So it'll be really interesting to see who comes out on top of this. You've got two teammates who can work together. You've got Thomas Cope, sort of a lone wolf, defending like, well, as Chris Kamara said once, a pack of beavers. Not sure that quite works, but Thomas Cope will be wanting to just defend hard. He doesn't need to think about winning this by a country mile. He just needs to win it by getting his car just slightly across the line ahead of Matty Chambers or Elliott. He does not want to have an incident or anything like this. So us looking back here, you'll see as they get onto this back straight now, here they go down towards the final corner. Matty Chambers has got a bit of a gap. Thomas Cope makes his move before Matty. Now that's the important thing with defence. You've got to make your move first, so you are predictable to the car behind. Matty goes to the outside. He's not doing that to try and overtake, because he won't get round the outside of his corner. He'll look for a cut back onto a pit straight. Oh, actually, Thomas has tried to block the cut back, and Matty's gone right round the outside. There's Commentators jinx number 4 now. Four for the season. We're going to keep count of these as Matty goes up the inside. Now, can Thomas do the same in turn 1? No, he can't. So Matty Chambers leads the race.
Yeah, definitely was a great pass there. Got a really good exit out of Sunset. But here comes Thomas Cope down the inside to get that inside line. Pushes Matty Chambers out wide. Oh, and there was a car in the middle of the track. That was great avoidance there, but Matty has just lost the position to Elliott behind him. That was a terrible positioning of a car, but great skill to avoid that. I mean, that was a great move from Thomas down the inside. Just went down to and forced Matty a little bit wide, and it was just unfortunately there was a car right across the track. And let's have a look here. It might be Daniel Slater who was blocking that track. Let's have a look here. Coming down, he does spin. Yes, it is him. So he's there, and
that is not how you try and rejoin. And then obviously he tries to get going again, I guess, and realises his car's coming.
Yep, there we go.
Yeah, and there's the leaders coming round.
Oh, that was absolutely stonking by Matty there for that avoiding action. But
I have to be honest, I thought it was the way the car reacted on the live stream. I honestly thought it was a huge part of netcode that had launched Matty that way, because it just looked like that from the inside. But the gap was so big, it was like, I've never seen netcode that big in my life. But no, it was Matty's avoidance skills, because we didn't see the car come in. So I don't know if Lewis could pick up an onboard of Matty for that. That would be something we would, be interested to see his reactions, how quickly he sees a car and then decides where he's going to go.
I mean, that was late reactions, but great reactions overall. And, one of the other fight, we're looking at this one, but there is a fight going on for that Pro-Am at the moment between Matthew Hooper and James Longston. It's been going on for the whole of this race near enough. So before we go to that, let's have a look at on board for Matty from his incident there. Coming around turn number 1, does have that lead, but because he was quite defensive going into turn 1, did scrub out some speed there. Coming around this corner, I mean, wow, he just saw the car. That was so close to a race-ending incident. So big kudos there for Matty for a bit of opposite lock to save his race. Still there in third place at the moment, so hasn't lost too much off the lead at the moment, but Elliott is the next one lining up from that Evo SR team to challenge Thomas Cope. Thomas Cope just getting it at all angles at the moment, just being super defensive. I think if he is able to do this for what would have been near enough 20 minutes is very much a mascot. Very much since they've exited the pits as Thomas had been on a defensive over the two Evo SR guys, so doing an exceptional job at the moment to keep his car in front. But let's have a look at the Pro-Am at the moment, the battle there for overall. You can see there you got Michael Hoopla in 4th place, James Longdon in 5th place overall. So these two very much fighting out for that Pro-Am lead. And yeah, just as I told you to move there, Lewis, we just can see Elliott has managed to take Thomas Cope finally for that 1st place overall. But these cars are so close together at the moment. It's anybody's to call of who's going to win this race. Currently got 8.5 minutes left of this race to go, so still plenty of time for plenty of action between these 3 drivers.
Yeah, and right behind Thomas Cope is Matty Chambers. He lost a bit of time with that little rally course round the car, which actually I think was partly also him losing the back end of the car, trying to get the power down early. So I think it was a mixture of both, but great avoidance nevertheless to still be in this race, still be 3rd place, and still be well in with a chance of winning this race. Elliott Hellier's now pulled out a little bit of a gap over Thomas Cope. Matty Chambers is now going to start applying the pressure, but Thomas Cope's resolve only lasted 3 or 4 laps of defence there before Elliott managed to make it through. Again, complete repeat of race 1 last time out, where Elliott caught up with Thomas halfway through the race and then made his move in the second half to start pulling away. And that is what's happened here tonight. There's Matty Chambers starting to apply the pressure to the Olympus Esports driver of Thomas Cope. And as you said before, we've got another close battle behind for Pro-Am. And in Am, the leader is still Steve Pearce, down in 16th place at this moment in time. Made 13 places overall on the grid, so a good drive by Steve. Kept it clean. We saw him trying to have to avoid some people who were making moves on recovery drives earlier on, but it's still a great drive by the amateur driver right now, just ahead of Tom Bingham and closing in on Casper Tunstead just in front, who we haven't quite seen the pace we saw in the practice races before the opening round. He was extremely quick in the final practice race we had before the first round, and he's now sitting. He's still 5th in class at the moment, so it's not too bad. But he maybe his hopes were a little bit higher because of how that practice race went.
Yeah, definitely is. We're currently watching Joel Sol there, who was 2nd place in the AM, about 6 positions behind overall. But looking at Matty Loveridge, has done an excellent recovery job. Did get involved in that lap 1 into the Olympus Esport drivers. Currently up in P11, has got Borkland in his sights, so only 1.1 second between Borkland and Matt Loveridge there for Olympus Esports. So a great recovery drive for him. But we join back with Mr. Joe Sol, who is 2nd overall for Evo SR Black in that AM division. Gordon Hagen behind him, 2.7 seconds, so a bit of a decent gap for Joe at the moment, and does have the benefit of having a Pro-Am driver in front of him, Phil Regan, who's seems to be having a bit of a battle, is Joe with him. But further down the field, we got our rookie class, Matthew Gerard in 30th position at the moment, still heading out that class, 4 places ahead. Oh, has he had a bit of an incident there?
Yeah, it's Dean Powell. Dean Powell into the final corner yet again. The Powells do not like this corner here tonight, and I'm guessing it's just going to... Oh, it doesn't even snap around. He just goes straight through, kills Colin McCone, and jumps to the pits with a tow. So I've just noticed, actually, looking at the lap times, which Lewis has popped up at the top of the screen, shows the pace difference between the 4 classes. That's the fastest lap in each class. So you got a 58.5 in the Pro class, 59.1 in the Pro-Am. In the AM category, it's just over 2 minutes. and it's just under 2 minutes 1 for the rookie category. So it shows that in terms of pace, the categories are just nicely spaced out enough that they can just stay in their own little races at times on pure
Yeah.
pace.
Yeah, and that's very much what we want for these drivers, to be able to battle within their classes. Hence why we've done what we've done at the start of this race, to put them all together in their own individual classes. It makes a lot better racing for them and obviously for us watching on stream. But I think the curse of the sunset. Oh, as we see Scott Mox going to stream around. Oh, just managing to avoid the tyre barrier on the entrance to the start-finish straight there. That was a lucky escape there, but having a bit of a fight with Aaron Powell there behind him in 8th place. Nearly lost out in that position, but these two drivers, Scott Mokes and Aaron Powell, having an extremely close battle for 7th overall, 5th in class. Aris Shamanta still out in front of him, still keeping his nose clean, still 4th in class as well, so doing a great job. But what I would like to say is, for all the back markers, they've done an exceptional job on the whole to get out the way of the front runners, to not impede them in any way or form. And I don't know if your viewers on the YouTube have noticed, as we watch Portland here, just getting passed by Loveridge, so losing another position there. Andre Borkland moves down into 11th overall, and he is currently 8th in class. So Matt Loveridge doing an excellent recovery job from what was the start. Was pretty unforgettable forgettable for him, should I say. Yeah, what I was saying about the rookie class, I don't know if our viewers have noticed, on the back end of a rookie car, you have like 2 small chevrons underneath the lights of the cars, and that's very much an indication to the rest of the field that you're approaching a rookie driver. So just take a little bit of care. Whoa, as Kim Andre Butler just didn't really do the care there. Got his car, hit that barrier, and I believe that he must have steering damage on that Porsche.
Yeah, that was a huge incident into the barrier for Kim Andre Borkland. But I also noticed actually that James Logston's lost a huge amount of time. He's down into 3rd in class, 9th overall. He was up behind Hooper, so I don't know if there's been a dive or a mistake there for the 2nd in class in Pro-Am. He's now 3rd in class, so I'm not sure whether there's too much of an issue there for himself. We're now looking at Jakob Behrens in the IGL Coatings E-Racing 4 GT, and even at night the car looks like a bit of a handful for Jakob, and that's why most drivers, I'll be honest, don't pick it that often, but it's great to have it out here on the circuit, and Jakob doing a great job with it, getting it into the top 20 now, just ahead of Gordon Haag. So it's just with 2 minutes left to go in this race. The hour has absolutely flown by. Elliot Hellier leads the pro class from Thomas Cope. He's pulled out 2.7 seconds, whereas Matty Chambers is only half a second behind Thomas Cope. So the battle for second place is well and truly on. In the Pro-Am category, Michael Hooper leads the way from Patrick Thompson. That's his 4th and 5th overall. Here's the drivers on screen now. There's a gap of about 9 seconds behind them. So the German Hooper is hoping to bring it home for Team Bear Pope. In the amateur category, we are looking for Steve Pearce to bring it home ahead of Joseph Soul, as Tom Bingham now makes his way past Steve Pearce, obviously for position on track, but not in the class. And 3rd in the class is Gordon Haag, who's just a little bit further back, about 2 seconds off Joseph Soul. And in the rookie category, we have a leader of Matthew Gerard, the privateer in his New Zealand Mercedes, doing a great job out in front, ahead of Jameson Smith, the winner of the opening round, of the opening races from round 1, and 3rd in class. I'm not sure if my timing screen is going to come up with it, or if our producer will beat me to who is 3rd in class.
Paul Joseph Clist is 3rd in class in the rookies at the moment. So Paul doing a great job. Didn't come to qualifying, so started at the back of the grid. And probably one of the big things about the rookie class is just making sure you try and keep it clean and keep your lines and try and keep it on track. And you'll probably end up doing quite well. And looking here with Paul Joseph Cliss managing to make up quite a few positions, up 16 places from where he started out on track. I'm just looking down the grid and see who is our biggest mover of the day. So there's quite a few of them at the moment. We've got Joe Sol up 18 places, Gordon Haig up 18 places, Rich Jamieson Smith up 18 places. So 18 seems to be the magic number here today, but the nearest one to that is Tom Stevens up into P11th overall, up 17 positions. So a great recovery drive for Tom overall, considering he started at the back of the pro field. But one of the things I want to find out, and I don't know if you can for us, Lewis, is James Logsdon was having an epic fight with Matthew Hoopler for that Pro-Am win overall, and looks like James has had a bit of an issue, and Patrick Thompson has really qualified by that. But looking at the front of the grid, Elia takes the win here in round number 2. Thomas Cope managing to keep off Matty Chambers there in 3rd place. Matty did an exceptional job previous, missing a car at round turn number 2, but Thomas Cope was, wow, I mean, that was like a 25-minute masterclass of how to defend. Obviously couldn't do it from Elliott, managed to lose out, but overall managing to do a great job to keep that 2nd place. Michael Hoopler there managing to get the top spot in the Pro-Am division, with Patrick Thompson coming home in 5th overall, 2nd in class. James Longton managing to get that 3rd place overall as we watch the rest of the field flood through. Tom Stevens, another excellent drive from him overall, 4th in class, up 17 places from where he started, as we wait for Steve Pearce to come across the line, our top AM driver, as he comes around here through Sunset to take the top spot in the AMs overall, with Joe Sol taking 2nd. Jacob Behrens, after his great qualifying position and obviously practice session, unfortunately there in the Ford, coming mid-pack in P20th overall. Now looking at Matthew Gerard here, coming on to the back, overtaking, I believe that is Lydia there, to look at the win in the rookie class overall. And it's been a pretty much dominant performance there from Matthew. Had a little bit of a scare early on in the race, but has managed to pull away from Jameson Smith behind him, who's already finished the race. So Matthew there coming home to take the rookie class. Richard Jameson Smith getting 2nd overall in the rookie class, and in 3rd was Paul Joseph Clist. So a great hour-long racing for everyone to view out on stream. Did have a little bit of a hiccup in Sunset Bend that took a lot of drivers out. And is this the James? No, it's not. So we'll go across to the results once they come in to give you the final classification. So in 1st place was Elliot Hellier. An excellent race for him. Started at the back of the pro field and managed to work his way through. In 2nd place, we got Thomas Cope, led from the start, but wasn't able to fend off the 2 Evil SR teammates. Matty Chambers in 3rd place overall. Obviously, probably expected a little bit better, but probably thankful that he's still in that 3rd place after that incident around turn number 3 with a car stranded in the middle of the track. Michael Hooper gets top spots in your Pro-Am field, and Patrick Thompson there takes 2nd place in 5th. Arias Germansis in 6th, Aaron Powell in 7th, Scott Mokes in 8th. James Longton gets your 3rd place and the final podium position for the Pro-Am category. Matt Loveridge, a great recovery drive there in 10th. Tom Stevens, same again, the Evo SR black team member at the back of the Pro-Am field, managing to get 4th overall in class. Nikolai Frayne in 12th, Casper Tungsten 13th, Hakon Jørgensen in 14th, Oscar Christensen in 15th, Tom Bingham in 16th, and then we have our top AM driver Steve Pearce in 17th, closely followed by Joe Sal in 18th.
Yeah,
Go on, mate. You
Right.
can go
I was going to say, I'll give you a break.
Yeah, thanks.
19th is Phil Regan for XZ Racing, Jacob Berens in that Ford GT. 20th, Gordon Howe, 21st, Sander Ireland coming home in 22nd with Russ Fowler, 23rd. Alex Guerrero, we saw having to recover from a spin, I think, earlier on, 24th. Darren Doherty, 25th. Mad Surge, 26th, Nicholas Gronstrom, 27th. Our winner in rookies, the New Zealander, I say it again, New Zealander, Matthew Gerard, 28th overall. 29th, Jimmy Vark, which I saw earlier with a Mika Salo tribute helmet. So that's a nice little touch there. 30th, Rich Jamieson Smith, who was second in the rookie category, just getting beaten by Gerard by just probably about 10 seconds in the end. Orvin Brevik, 31st. Nigel Stock on his debut in 32nd. 33rd, Daniel Slater, 34th. Paul Clist, who managed to make it onto the rookie podium. Victor Lind, 35th. Frederick Goldberg, 36th. Andy Booth, 37th. Lydia Rossa will be 5th in the rookie class in 38th overall. Kev Copeland, 39th. Kim Andre Borkland, 40th. Dean Powell, 41st, who had a crash in terms of his laptop, in terms of his computer. So he ended up on his desktop instead of on the track. Late on, that's why he suddenly disappeared. Alex Rhodes, 42nd. Hendrik Howardson, 43rd. Simon Modolfsky, 44th. Carl Gray, 45th. David Gill, 46th. These are all drivers who ended up retiring earlier on in the race. Morten Hansen, 47th. Daniel Livik, 48th. Bob Humphrey, 49th and 50th, and 29 laps down. So retired early on in the race was Daniel Merchant.
So there rounds out the grid of 50 drivers. Some drivers really profiting from that first lap incidents, and quite a few falling down the order. But we do have quite a few drivers standing by for an interview with us. And at the moment, let's bring in our pole sitter, and we'll welcome Thomas Cope to the interview box. Thomas, welcome to the interview. You sort of had it easy up until the round of pit stops, and then it came to the pit stops, and the two Evo SR guys really put you under a lot of pressure, and it was a really defensive display from you from there on out. Just explain the race to us, mate.
Yeah, I just want to say congrats both to the both Evo guys, Elliot and Matty. I want to learn how they can save tires. That was some good job from them guys. I was really struggling with tires late on in that race. I just can't put it to words how they came about having the tire wear like they did. It was really impressive, and really good job to Elliot. But yeah, the defending, it was really good. It was really fun. Some amazing class act from those two. It was some really good hard racing.
It certainly was. And obviously, you probably haven't seen, but Matty probably gave everyone a masterclass of how to avoid a car, because when you came down on his inside into turn number 3, when you made the passing move, he literally done an off-road track to save his car. So it's definitely worth a watch back. But I mean, he certainly was on the charge, and I almost felt that you probably got let off the hook there from one of the Evo SR drivers, but then you just had Elliot take over his position.
I really don't. Yeah, just Elliot had a really good race there. I can do nothing but just say congrats. We'll regroup and sit down. But yeah, that incident with Matty, I'd heard over the spotter. There was a slow car on the right. Thanks to Charles for spotting for me. Does an amazing job giving me all the info. But he told me there was a slow car on the right, off the track on the right, and I was gonna let off and let Mike come in, and then he said he got going again. I stuck in it, and that I didn't realize the BMW is still there. I'm gonna have a look back and see what happened in that avoidance, but I'm happy that he managed to save it and didn't ruin his race, because it was really good from there on out.
Definitely was. I mean, you have like two parts to your race. The first half of your race, you're really racy, and you managed to get a lead over the rest of the field. And we saw it in the first round in Watkin Glen between yourself and Elliot. And then Elliot seems to be coming on stronger in the second half. What do you put that down to? Do you put it down to the tyres?
I would definitely put it down to my tire wear. It is something I take pride in and saying that I don't know 100% how to save tires yet. I am learning. I'm still picking that stuff up. Um, I'd like just big congrats. I want to get some tips off Elliot about how he's done that because it's
It
really
was
impressive
insane.
how he can make those tires last the race like he did.
He is, and started at the back of the pro field. Certainly is the one to watch in this championship, along with yourself. But obviously, only 2 rounds down in the championship, and we go to Silverstone for the next round for another hour-long race. How are you hopeful of that track? I know in the past you've been extremely fast around there.
Yeah, I really like Silverstone. I'm hoping the lack of knowledge in tire wear doesn't kick in, but it'll be a really fun race. I'm hoping for a good one and see if I can keep 100% on the qualifying streaks at the moment.
Brilliant. Well, thanks for joining us, Thomas, and congratulations on your well-fought second place overall. Before we let you go, mate, would you like to say thank you to anyone?
Yeah, big thanks to you guys for the broadcast. Thanks to Tom Bingham for the series and inviting me along. I'm going to enjoy taking all the photos for the series and everything. And yeah, just the really class act from all the guys, the team that's behind me. Olympus Esports giving me all the practice tools I need to do a really good job on track today.
Definitely. Well, congratulations again, Thomas, and look forward to seeing you out in Silverstone next week.
Have a good
Thanks,
night,
mate.
guys.
So that is Thomas Cope there, obviously just managing to get pipped for that race win here again by the pesky Elliott. Seems to be nipping at his heels. But Dave, who are you standing by with? Who do you want to have a chat with next? Maybe the race
I'll,
winner, Elliott?
I was just going to say I'll have a word with the race winner, Elliot.
So like that guy. Hang on.
That was good timing, Elliot. Welcome to the comms booth. We should really give people warning, I think, in future.
Yeah.
'Cause we will catch them saying something. But yeah, that's the second win of the season for you now after the race one in Watkins Glen. We've noticed, and we just mentioned this to Thomas, you seem to come on a lot stronger in the second half of the race compared to Tom. Is that something you've noticed, something you've planned to do, or is it just happens and you get more comfortable?
I think it's something that I find in a lot of all of my races. So I do a lot of endurance races with my team, and it's always kind of a running thing that I will get stronger as the race goes on. Um, Especially today, me and Matty could see that Thomas was pushing really hard, and we knew the setup was super understeery, especially in the Porsche. And we said it was going to eat tires, so we both kind of sat back. To be fair, Matty did a load of the work, just kind of pushing along, holding the gap, and um, we were just watching him, thinking, he's going to be burning up, and then sure enough, he started dropping back to us, and then second half of the race, we just, I don't know, turned it on, I guess.
Yeah, I noticed Matty sort of kind of waved you through just before pit stops and then ended up beating you out of the pit stops and being the one to challenge Tom up just afterwards.
Yeah. So like me and Matty were sort of thinking, do we want to try and pass Thomas, because we thought we had a really good pace. We thought we might be able to kind of bridge it, sort of both get past him and bridge a gap. I think I made a little mistake after Matty let me past, and then I missed my pit box, so I had to reverse. So I lost a couple of seconds there. And then it just so happened that I kind of slotted back into third again, and then we had the shenanigans in turn two. And yeah, I mean, Matty did really good, to be honest. He did really well.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that into what I think they class it's turn two, but they class it as turn three. What did you actually see of it? Because obviously Matty needed lightning reactions to miss that.
To be honest, I saw the yellow flag. I tried to have a look up. Next thing I knew, I was looking across to the curb, because I normally, I don't know if you see on the replay, I normally batter that curb on the inside. So I was kind of ready, sort of pointing at it, and it was only when I saw it that, I saw kind of Matty there. So I tried to leave him room, but obviously, he made the right decision in the end. I think if he would have tried to go left, he would have hit him. So yeah, no, props to Matty for avoiding that. He saw it much quicker than I did.
And now with 2 wins out of 2, is this the start of a pure championship charge, or as a team? Because obviously, there's quite a few of you in the team. Will you be working together towards one of you getting a championship, or one of you getting 1 and 2, or is it still a bit too early to sort of play the team game as such?
Um, yeah, I think it's probably a little bit too early. I'm also, just to like due to some scheduling issues, it's very unlikely that I'll be able to make every round. So I'm just going to try and, if I need to, if I need to just do what I can do for now to kind of rack up the points, and then, later on as the season goes, if kind of Matty and Bob and everyone else take over, it is what it is. But hopefully I can just keep racking up the points in every round that I can make, because I'm really enjoying it at the moment.
I was going to say, you keep winning races, you'll be there at the end, whether you miss rounds or not. Before we let you go, is there anybody you want to give a shout out to?
Yeah, so I'm racing for Evo SR in this series, but I just want to give a big shout out to TLDR SimSport, which is the team that I race with normally, and Turn7Liveries.com, who his name's Colin. He makes insane liveries, really well priced. Yeah, it's great. So thank you very much.
And will we see, just before you go, will we see it at next round, next weekend?
Yeah, next weekend I should be there. It's pretty much every other weekend that I struggle to make, but it was kind of an anomaly that I made it this weekend. So probably the round after Silverstone I will miss, and then I will be back again sort of every other week.
Okay, so we'll see you next week, and hopefully you'll be fighting at front yet again.
Thanks, mate. I hope so.
Thank you.
There was Elliot there. So let's bring in Michael Hoopler there, our top Pro-Am driver. Michael, welcome to the box. I did see in your practice session, in the qualifying session, you were very much mixing it up with the pros. So I was expecting some big things here tonight, and you certainly didn't fail to live up to that expectations. Led from pretty much the start in the Pro-Am field. Looked like there was a bit of an incident with James Longdon, because he was really hot on your heels for the majority of that race. Slipped off towards the end, which gave you a little bit of breathing space, but pretty much start to finish, you commanded that Pro-Am division here tonight at Sebring. Just tell us how it went for you.
Yeah, thank you for the warm welcome. Yeah, I knew from my practice session on Monday I was going to be pretty fast here, and the other endurance races I already did here. I was away in the Austrian Alps for most of the week, so today was my first real practice session. So it went better than expected, yeah. But in the end, yeah, I pretty much could control the pace. I even could feel safe a bit in front of James, my teammate. And we agreed getting away from the guys behind. Unfortunately, he had an incident in turn one, in I think the second to last lap, and lost the position in the class. But overall, it went pretty well for us. Yeah.
So obviously a brand new series, this Performance Link GT3 Cup. How are you finding it, and how are you finding the difference in the points system than probably what a lot of other leagues follow?
It's interesting. It's a good mix-up. I think the change of the starting format was a good one. I thought it was much cleaner this time. Just judging from the incidents that crew chief reported during the first lap. I'm liking the class system. I'm expecting a few changes after the third race, because I've seen a few M's that should probably be in Pro-Am, a few Pro-Ams that should probably be one class down or one class up. But I look forward to racing with everybody in any class I am.
You're certainly doing it well. Obviously, only the second round here, and we go to Silverstone for the next round. Are you going to do exactly the same again? Because it seemed to work for you tonight, just literally tip up for the practice and win your class. Is that what you're expecting at Silverstone?
I'm expecting not a result this good, because Silverstone is not one of my good tracks. I think Watkins Glen and Sebring are one of my better tracks. Silverstone I expect to be more in like P3, P5, this kind of region. But I'm looking forward to it nevertheless.
You've got 12 rounds, 10 more left to go in the championship to show us what you can do. But big congratulations for yourself on your first Pro-Am win here at Sebring in race number 2. But before we let you go, Michael, is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to?
Yes, of course. My team, Bear Pop, who have supported me from my sim racing career, which started, I think, at the year 2018, and they welcomed me with open arms, and a really big shout out to my team.
Well, thanks for joining us there. There was Michael Hooper managing to win in the Pro-Am round here around Sebring. I think we've got time for one more, Dave. We'll get Steve Pearson, our top AM driver, and I'll let you have a chat with him, mate.
Steve, winner of the rookie category. Is that
Rookie?
something you
No, it's
were...
AM.
Sorry, AM category. Sorry. I've thrown myself. I'm thinking off the top of my head too quickly. I mean, you can win the rookie category as well if you want. You're ahead of it. Winner of the AM category. Is it something you were kind of hoping for tonight, or is it a bit of a surprise?
Well, I thought I had a good chance qualifying in pole in class, so yeah, I was pleasantly surprised, to be honest, and keeping it on track throughout the whole race. To be honest, I've driven that track quite a lot. Like with the Reckless Abandon guys, we've done quite a few endurance races there, so we know the track quite well. So that's why me and Dave started first and second, really, because we've done so many laps there. It's just a shame that Dave had a couple of incidents with some others nearer the back, unfortunately. Yeah, but pleased overall.
Yeah, we saw you a couple of times in the early laps, just sort of making sure that you were keeping the car clean, making sure, not getting in too many battles because it's not needed straight away.
Yeah.
And you sort of, it was almost like, go through because I know I'll probably get you back later, or I know, incidents can happen, things like that. So was that your mindset through the whole of the race, or was there a point where you went, no, this is kind of in my hands now, I need to push on?
Yeah, I just wanted to keep it clean, really. I didn't want to affect sort of other drivers' races, in the Pro-Am class. But when I realised, I was just quicker, I thought, I've got to go for it, and then try and sort of take off up the road a bit, which I did a couple of times. But then made a couple of sort of mistakes or got held up here and there. There was one point. There was a guy, Frederick. He was a lap down, and he was fighting me. He was blocking me, which shouldn't have really happened, to be honest. And at that point, well, I think it was turn 3. I think he came off, and the other guys in the Pro-Am class came by. I just let them by in the end because I didn't want to sort of get into too much trouble there and just carry on. So yeah, that was sort of my mindset, really.
And we're heading, I think Andy said it was Silverstone next up. The BMW, a car you've chosen for a particular reason? Are you expecting much from Silverstone itself?
Not really. I'm not too good at Silverstone, to be honest.
I knew as soon as I said Silverstone, I heard the.
Yeah, I like the track, but I can't get to grips with it. So yeah, I don't expect a great deal from it. Not driven it much, but we'll see. Maybe I'll get a lot of practice in this week. Let's see what happens.
And as we're coming to the end of it, is there anybody you want to give a shout out to on the day you've just took victory in the AM class?
Thank you, David. Just the Reckless Abandon guys. They should all be listening right now. Really appreciate all the help and support, and just all the endurance races that we do, which helps me get to grips with the car. So yeah, those guys.
Thank you, and congratulations on your win.
Thank you very much. Cheers.
Was Steve taking that AM win there overall in class. Would have been nice to have all 4 classes, but we'll let Matthew Gerard off the hook being in New Zealand. It's probably early hours of the morning there, so dedication to come out racing, but big congratulations for him for the race.
He's gone out drinking to celebrate.
Probably has, yeah. But yeah, that brings us to the end of this broadcast. But Dave, I mean, it's been a great race. We got Silverstone up next. What are you going to take from that, mate?
Well, Silverstone's a completely different circuit to what we've had from the first two races. Fast corners, not many hard braking areas for people to try and make the overtaking moves. You think of Stowe, you think of Club Corner. You know, even Stowe's a third, fourth gear corner, so it just depends on how your car is, especially in a straight line or balance through the corners. So that'll be really interesting to see because it's a new challenge, and the format will really stretch the drivers to the limit in terms of pushing forward and making their championship sort of ready to go. Because if you've had two bad rounds, you really need to get a result in Silverstone.
He will, and we'll be able to see probably for the first time if these cars or what the slipstream effect is around the long corners around Silverstone. But that is obviously coming up next week. But a big thank you to our title sponsor, Performance Link, but also a big thank you to our other sponsors, Green Future Technology, TC Simography, STK Gaming, and Extreme Scoring. So a big thank you for them who do great wonders, enable us to give us this wonderful broadcasting for you. But my name's been Andy Thompson. I've been joined in the box with Dave Whitehouse alongside the wonderful Lewis Derrara on the cameras. But that is it from Sebring for round number 2, and we head to Silverstone at the same time next week. So if you like the broadcast, give us a thumbs up. Click that subscribe button, click the bell, and you'll get when we go live. We're also doing a podcast on Tuesday to go over the finer details of this round and look back at the incidents and hopefully be able to drag a driver in for a little bit of a chat to him. So join us for that round about 7:30 on Tuesday night. But from Sebring here tonight, we bid you farewell and look forward to next week at Silverstone. Good night.